On June 30th, Crunchyroll published an official trailer of new Demon Slayer movie that's called Infinity Castle. Apparently it's not a single movie but a trilogy that won't even cover the whole end of the manga. I don't really know and I don't really care. I don't like Demon Slayer and I can't stand people who claim this title to be the greatest anime ever. This might be jealousy inside of me screeching because Demon Slayer probably has the best animation on average. I'm not fully delusional to deny that fact, just look at this thing. Despite the show being very pleasing to the eyes, story and characters are mid as it possibly can be. I'm not a good critic of any sort, nor a good debater, so I won't go into deep and good weighted arguments about why the show might be good or bad objectively. My hate to Demon Slayer is absolutely subjective, and I'm saying that I hate it because I simply can. So, out of my pettiness, I decided to count every one of you mad people that like this show and hurt myself with an actual gun. Why? I don't know, I guess to suffer for your sins or prove a point like a man. Cause guns are cool and shit and it's cool to see another person get hurt. So, let's get to the plan. How will I do it? Well, I'm now a junior comp sci student, so I absolutely know how to do it cause I was programming since I was 2 years old, won hundreds of hackathons, in middle school got invitations from Google, Facebook or Apple, my GPA is 4.0 and government pays me 300k a year. Yeah. Anyways, first we have these fuckers commenting under that video on how excited they are about this shit. Look, 15,000 of them. Pew, gross. Well, some of them are probably saying that the series are trash, so some of them are based. At any rate, we need to extract these comments and I don't really know how to do that. Then, after we extract those comments, we need to identify if they're positive or negative, which seems even harder than just extracting them. There is 15,000 of them Johns, and I'm not going to manually tag every single one of them. No way, I'm way too lazy for that shit. And step numero 3, I will need to count every shithead that left positive comment and get shot for it. So there you have it, 3 steps, let's get to it. Well, first we need to extract these comments. To do that, we need to use YouTube's API. API is basically a way for different developers to collaborate and create something together using each other's things. In this instance, it's me who wants to use YouTube's things and services. YouTube is a very complex and complicated website with lots of things in it. Thus, to make it easier for other people to use, YouTube created a whole another library of code so the developers can access it from the outside without really knowing how these things work. API stands for Application Programming Interface, and this library of code that YouTube created for people like me is an interface. So I can use and tinkle with stuff in here without touching the mainframe here. How does this profit YouTube? I guess if other developers use it in their applications, it reaches broader audiences and users of those apps can interact with YouTube stuff, which inherently makes money for big YouTube. I don't know if my dumbass trying to get shot for positive comments on new Demon Slayer movie trailer would make YouTube money, but I guess it will by rolling ads on this video. Anyways, I didn't know how to use YouTube's API, so I watched these 2 videos from this channel that really helped me do it. First, I went to Google Cloud Console, which is basically a website provided by Google for users to use their resources and services. This is an interface as well. I create a new project here, then I specifically need to activate YouTube's API because there is a lot of shit here. I go to library, search for YouTube's API and choose this YouTube Data API version 3. I activate this shit, it's already activated on my end because I already did all of this. You fucking bozo. API enabled, then we go ahead and manage this API. To use in our Python code, we would need an API key. To not go in much details, it's basically a long sequence of characters which is unique to your specific account or something like that, so only authorized users could use it, and so Google can rate limit your shit and count bugs if you're using it too much, and send bill with a grant to your email. I created mine and it's in the credentials tab. Okay, with this bitch done, we finally start coding. First two lines, we import these two libraries that contain all the code that I need to extract these comments. I import them here so that I can use them in my Python script later. These three lines are just variables that hold those strings. This is purely for convenience measures, so I won't write them in a function separately. Then I declare this function called getComments that will take video ID as an argument. Function is basically a code block that can be used multiple times, and argument is just a thing we provide this function to work on. This would work like this. I will call a function with some video's ID. This function will take that video ID I provided, process it, compute it, blah 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 blah, and shit out extracted comments. This way my code could be used not only for Demon Slayer lame trailer alone, but for other YouTube videos as well. Okay, now we get into the real meat here of extracting these fucking comments. I declare this variable called allComments that will hold all of the extracted comments. Yes, this is an array, so it can hold not one thing but several things. This variable called nextPageToken is assigned to nothing for now,
so it's empty at the moment,
but we need this variable because apparently to go through all of YouTube's comments you need to go through all of its pages. Turns out you can access 100 comments at a time, so we need this variable to get all 15,000 of them. Now this right here is the most important thing. We create an instance of YouTube in this line of code using those libraries we
imported earlier,
and those variables we declare are used as arguments in this build function. This is a loop, an infinite loop in fact. Code inside of this loop will run indefinitely, but we will stop it manually when we'll get all the comments. We do this because we can't tell how much pages of comments there exactly are, so we will just run until we reach a dead end. Inside this loop, we will request from YouTube these comments. That's why I have this variable called request. We use YouTube's instance we created earlier. We use comment threads function and then use function called list to return comments that would match arguments that I will provide. Here, for argument called part, I provide only snippet without replies because we don't need replies really. Fuck them. For video ID, I provide of course that argument of this getComments function. Here we use nextPageToken variable that is currently set to nothing, but later we will update it after we'll get all
comments from this page.
And we need these comments in plain text, and maximum amount you can extract at a time is 100. But the request we just created is not executed yet, so we need to do that. For that I created this separate variable response to get the actual response from YouTube. This will return us a response in format of a JSON object, which is simply put a file with labels and values that are grouped using braces and colons. Now this response has lots of things in it. We need to access things that are under label items, and it is in an array, so to go through each one of the items we just use this notation, basically meaning for each item in this bunch of items that we got from the response, we will do something with it. Now each item has its labels and values, and those values have their own labels and values, and so we have this notation here. Basically with this we get the comment with its metadata, like when it was published, what is the username of the person, comment itself, etc, etc, etc. So we keep that value in top comment variable, and we will add this comment to our allComment array that we created earlier. These curly braces means that this array will be holding dictionaries, which is like JSON format file, have its labels and values. For instance, here we have label called timestamp, and its value would be the time comment was published at.
We do it
this way so later on we can visualize it better in an Excel sheet. After we get through our first 100 comments, we will get out of this for loop and we need to access the next page. So we have this block of code that using response variable and function get will get us our next page. But in case we reach the end and we have nothing, we need to get out of this infinite loop, so we break out of it. And then this function needs to shit out the comments, so we return allComments array. Now we out of the function declaration and we need to actually call it using that Demon Slayer videos ID. We can find video ID here. I store it in a separate variable called video ID. And now we're ready to call this function. But wait, to make it better, we can visualize it, and for that we will use pandas library that has all the code already written. Don't reinvent the wheel, as they say. So we import pandas as PD to make it shorter in the code. We use this function called dataframe that will create an object that we can visualize, and we will store that object in variable called df. That stands for dataframe. As argument, we will call our functions that will return all comments array of dictionaries. And finishing move for our step 1 would be actually converting that data frame into something we can see, like an Excel spreadsheet. So I have these variables that will hold name of the file that's in .csv format, and then we simply call function toCSV with our file name. Now we can run this shit and we have our comments.csv file created. If we look inside of it, we can see all of the comments that were under that Demon Slayer trailer. There is actually 9,911 of them and not 15,000. I guess other 6k is just replies. Now I can see every single one of you fuckers that cannot wait for Demon Slayer. I have all of your usernames.
I will find you.
With step 1 being done, let's get to step 2, tagging comments as positive or negative. Okay, this seems even harder than the first step. Apparently this area of computer science is called sentiment analysis and is part of natural language processing. Amazon does stuff like this for shit like product reviews and etc. I can do this in 2 ways. Okay, first is I need to acquire a corpus of positive and negative sentiment, which is basically a fancy way to say get a bunch of reviews. Then, which I already have, then I need to split the dataset myself into positive or negative. And then I need to apply a machine learning algorithm like SVM, naive bayes, or maximum entropy to this training corpus. This is called a bag of words model, where sentences are represented from words it's composed of. This shit is basically a spam filter, and after my machine learning algorithm will be trained enough, I can apply it to these comments. This is the first way I can go about it. Second way, I can just use someone else's already pre-trained models that are most likely million times better than something that I would come up with. And of course, I will use second method. No way I'm doing all this shit from the first one just for this Demon Slayer trailer video. Fuck no. First, I searched for a sentiment analysis API and found a site called Monkey Learn that seems very good and has even things for visualization, which is big, but for some reason when I tried to register it would not let me use any of my emails, so I quit this idea. Then I thought of using OpenAI, ChatGPT's API to basically ask their models to sentiment analyze these comments, but could not get it to work, and I quit this idea as well. But I was so dumb, so dumb. How could I forget about open source fuckers that have the best stuff for
free?
I found a site called Hugging Face that has 27,000 models shared by the AI community. Those models can do not only sentiment analysis but detect objects, generate text, speech recognize, and much more. On their hub, they have 215 sentiment analysis models available publicly for free, and they are very easy to use. Instead of training model myself, that would probably take my dumbass like several weeks at best, I just wrote 4 lines of code and it's done. First, I imported a library of code called transformers. From there, I will use class called pipeline. Next, I need to create an instance of the models that will recognize whether the comment is positive or negative. As argument, I put sentiment analysis because that's what we are doing, and save this model in this variable called classifier. After we get this single comment from the response we got from YouTube, let's immediately classify it using the classifier we just created. we give our comment itself as an argument, but this model cannot handle text that have more than 512 tokens and will cause errors. I don't actually know what is considered a token for this model. Maybe it's a word, maybe it's a character, but no matter what, it means that the analysis itself won't be so accurate because it will stop analyzing after a certain point. But you know, fuck it, I don't really care, and the prediction we get we will store in Brad's variable. Remember that all comments array that has all of our shit with the timestamps, usernames and stuff like that? Well, let's add sentiment label to it as well, and the value will hold the prediction itself. That Brad's variable can hold several predictions. I think
In our case,
it will hold only one, so I can access it at index 0, which is basically saying first thing in there. Then under a label called label, we will have the prediction, and under label score, we will indicate how confident model is in a given prediction. And voila! That's all code we need for checking these comments. Let's run the shit and actually see how it turns out. Now with sentiment analysis it takes much longer for a script to execute, but in the end we get our Excel spreadsheet and we actually have text for each comment. That's just great. These predictions seem to not be so good though. For some of these comments that seem pretty positive or neutral to me, model tags as negative and vice versa. This is pretty funny, not gonna lie.
Fuck it.
With most of the work done, let's get to step 3, counting positive comments and getting shot. Step 3 is the easiest part. All we need are these two variables that will hold numbers of negative and positive comments. I decided to add negative comments counter as well, just to see percentage of positive reviews and negative reviews. To access these variables inside of a function, I used keyword global. Generally, it's not a good practice, and instead you need to pass these variables inside of a function as arguments and then return them. But this is much simpler and easier, so shut the fuck up. To count
Their reviews.
I just compare the prediction label to string negative, all caps, and positive, all caps, and if they match, then it will add 1 to the respectable variable. Everything else is just simple math. To get total, we sum them up. To get percentage of positive comments, we divide amount of positive comments by total amount of comments and multiply by 100. Same with negative, and I didn't want to fuck around with fancy visualization, so I will just print the values to the terminal. Code once again runs very slowly because of sentiment analysis model, but in the end we get the same Excel spreadsheet, and now in addition we have printed out amount of positive and negative reviews and their percentage. Surprisingly, we have more negative reviews than positive. I think mostly because of false tagging by the sentiment analysis model, but you know what? That's what Demon Slayer deserves. Mid-ass fucking show. Fuck yourself.
hell yeah.
However, we still have a whole fuck ton of positive ones, almost 4,000 of them assholes. Well, I guess it's time to get shot 3,899 times by an actual gun. That's what you've been waiting for, right?
You sick fucks.
Okay, I will do what I promised, I will keep my word. I said I will get shot by an actual gun, I will get shot by an actual gun. Cut. So I'm outside right now and I'm about to get shot by a gun, a real water gun, and my girlfriend will help me and shoot me just behind the camera. So there is like 3,900 something of you sick bastards that left positive reviews under the Demon Slayer video. Let's just round it up to 4,000. So for every 1,000 I'm about to get shot by a liter of water. That would be 4 liters of water, or a little more than 1 US liquid gallon. Yeah, I guess that's it. Let's go. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention. I forgot to mention we have this 2-liter Coke bottle. Yeah, so we have that 2-liter water bottle that we'll need to refill throughout the half of it, I guess. Yeah, so yeah, I guess that's it. big is this water gun? This shit is small as fuck. Okay, we need to refill that shit. Okay, let's go. So apparently it takes a lot of time to pour over even 2 liters or even a liter of water with this little ass gun. So we decided just to pour the last remaining 2 liters all at once. So yeah, I guess. Yeah, so yeah, I guess that's it. I'm wet as fuck right now, thanks to my girlfriend and to you, my dear Demon Slayer fans. What is the moral of the video? I don't know. Don't get wet and don't get sick, because I will probably get sick, and it's all your fault. All 3,900 fuckers. Yeah, and by the way, like and subscribe. Yeah, bye.